you and welcome guys. I missed you guys last week. Really did miss you. Just Aaron? Okay, Aaron is fine. Mocha Bliss says, I'm graduating today, but the grind never stops. There you go, congratulations, Mocha. Awesome, that's so cool, man. Yeah, we're approaching the sort of like graduation season, where a lot of the programs are ending. So congratulations, my friend. Awesome. I was scared if I lost the last year. No, you didn't lose it. We were just I wasn't able to get to the stream. Okay, there we go. We should be live on YouTube. People of YouTube, if you're watching, show yourselves. Let me know here in the chat just to make sure that the audio is working fine over there. See, it says, thank you for the video about the 3D prices. Oh, nice, man. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, that's a very, very interesting topic. And it's one of those things that it definitely takes a while to, what's the word, to really get the hang of it, right? Because it's such a very varied topic, and it doesn't work the same in every country. Every country is slightly different. So yeah, it's definitely a tricky topic, but hopefully the things that we talked about were again some insights or some little tips that you can use to better understand how much you should charge for your stuff. We got Johnny Valdez, we got Arsenal Avery, Harsha Vardan, and Akagami Guts over here on YouTube. There we go. Johnny as well here on Twitch. Awesome. Yeah, there we go. People are getting into the stream. That's great. So let me find my C tool here for Mighty Thor. Able to recover it, so that's good, but I find where I left it. I haven't really worked on it a while now. Blaze Pop, Weekalit, and Celestialis. That's a cool name, Celestialis. Hola, Papa Abe. Oh my god. That got me good. Manuel Chacon. Papa Abe. That's the first time someone has said that. Let's see. A lot of work doing exams. No, not for me. Here in the university, this week just started the new sort of like semesters. Not a semester. They do it in blocks of 4 months. So we just started that one. And yeah, it was an interesting week. Already a year. Yeah, right, Noah, there you go. 12 months of awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely getting a little bit old. Well, we're about to get to our what's the word, our anniversary, guys. Next month is our anniversary on the 23rd of June, I think, or 22 of June, around those dates. And we're gonna have some cool surprises for that. Nolo Gaming says, good morning from LA. I have a question. I'm going to graduate soon with a BS in animation, a bachelor's, I believe. I want to take one of your classes and once wondering if once completed, can I use it for my resume? Yes, of course, man. Of course. I do offer a certificate. Well, it's not a certificate, right? It's just like a little diploma of completion. So if you of completion, if you finish the course and you send me a DM on Discord with your result, and I see that you were able to grasp all of the information from the course, I can issue you a small little symbolic certificate of completion for the course, so that you could include it as part of your curriculum if you want, or resume. Let's see. Alan Castillo says, sup, Abe? The Sunday is my birthday, so I'm here celebrating already by watching the stream. There you go, man. Well, happy soon-to-be birthday for you, my friend. Hamster also just graduated college. We're getting a lot of graduates today. That's great. That is great. Can you tell us a little bit about getting a job in game industry as a character artist? If you ask me a more specific question, I can definitely help you out, man. But I've mentioned a lot of those tips throughout the portfolio review series. So if you go into that series, you should be able to find a lot of like cool information about like what people are looking for in terms of in terms of skills, in terms of again, like portfolio, things like that. So there we go. I'm getting old. Yeah. I like your freelance work videos. Out says, hey, thank you, man. Yeah, as I was mentioning, freelancing. It's a whole beast. Like it's a whole different thing. It's not something that I strongly recommend you do straight out of school, because it can be very difficult when you're like very new. But once you get a little bit more experience, it's a little bit easier to jump into those kinds of projects and just be your own boss. I've been doing freelance for like the past 10 years, if not more. But the thing is, it took me a while before I could feel comfortable enough to be able to do that, right? And one thing you guys need to understand about freelancing is that there is more reward, right? Like you're going to be able to make a little bit more money, probably, depending on the projects. But there's also more responsibility as well. So it's very sort of like Spider-Man-like, where you're like, hey, great power comes with great responsibility. It's the same exact thing. So there's more risk, but there's more reward. Okay, let's just get into it. Hello everyone, how are you? Hopefully everyone's having a great Friday today. Here in Mexico, it's really freaking hot. This week it was horrible. We got like to 45 degrees or something like that. Here in the studio I was literally cooking, but not in the good way. I was cooking myself alive. So yeah, but thankfully things are a little bit better today. So today, yeah, we're just gonna jump. We're gonna have a chill stream. I kind of need this stream to get back into the creative mood. There's been a lot of like things going on over here on the side. So hopefully this stream will cover some techniques. We'll have some fun working here on Thor. We haven't worked on her in a while, and yeah, we're just gonna have some nice little like again Q&A. We have a couple of surprises, but I'm gonna announce them a little bit later today on the stream. So yeah, let's go here to mainstream. There we go. So this is where we left off last time, and as you can see, we're not that far away. Like we're in a good position, I would say. We have like several of the assets already done, like the bracer, most of the helmet. I definitely want to work a little bit on the helmet today to polish some of the shapes a little bit more, separate some of the plates maybe, and then we're probably gonna go into maybe the face or the breastplate, something like that. The pants are going to be an interesting one, because I've seen some of the Marvel Rivals and stuff, and they add a lot of detail, like some very nice, interesting trims. So we're probably going to have to do something like the bandages. We could also do bandages. It's been a while since we've done bandages, so that might be another cool one. Let's see. Is it summer in Mexico? Where's the sun pad? Yeah, it's like goes straight above my studio here. So yeah, it's very hot. Let's see. Says, hi, back in the days when you were studying 3D, how do you study 3D? Oh, that's such a great question, man. How to study? So, that's a great question. I think I've mentioned this before, like my approach, or one of the approaches that I follow. What the hell? Second, guys, my tablet is going in a completely different screen. There we go. Awesome. So, when you're learning about the 3D world, I would say there's like three main paths, and I've shown this graph before. I think it was not too long ago. It was another good video that we had here on the channel, where I explained that when you're studying, the first stages of learning about the 3D world tend to go very fast, because everything that you learn is completely new. So that makes it so that you are improving very fast, right? Every single tool, every single workflow, everything that you learn is gonna improve your stuff. But you tend to be working on simple things. So one of the ways, or one of the techniques that I use when I'm learning about anything, is I try to simplify it as much as possible. I remember back, this was back in like 2015 or something like that. One of the things that I struggled a lot with was displacement maps. Like I could just not get them to work the way they should be working, like getting all of the detail from ZBrush into Maya. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go here into ZBrush. I'm gonna start with a sphere, and once I have the sphere, I'm going to add like a crack or something, and that's it. Like that's the what's the word? That's the goal for this particular like exercise. I just want to make sure that I can do this process with a sphere and a very simple detail, and I know that if I can make that work, then extrapolating that into a more complex shape, like a face or like a monster or something like that, should be because it's not always the case, a little bit easier. So I'm gonna give you another example. Let's say you want to do VFX, right? You're not just going to start doing like a freaking nuclear explosion as your first exercise. It's going to be a little bit too complicated, especially because, yeah, you might be able to follow a tutorial online that's going to show you all of the steps, but you're not really going to understand them. So in my experience, it's better if you start with something like, I don't know, a candle, right? Like the fire, like from the wick of a candle. And if you make sure that you understand all of the principles that are involved, like the fuel, like all of the dynamics, gravity, all of these things, then when you jump into a more advanced things, you're going to understand why the person that's teaching you is using those particular like tools, because otherwise it just becomes a copycat. And I remember this was something that I was told when I enrolled into Nomad back in the day. I was like, they were like, we don't want to make you a button monkey. We don't want you to be someone who knows how to push buttons in a certain order. We want to make you an artist. We want to make sure that you understand the fundamentals and the principles behind all of this information, so that you can incorporate that into whatever it is you decide to do. And it's like, that's cool. Like I think that that's one of like the like a very, very sort of like smart, or maybe smart is not the right way. It's just like the proper way of learning. It's crazy that you can speak so concisely while also sculpting. That's practice, man. That's practice, Sushi. I've been streaming and doing like content for a long time, so I've developed that sort of like skill. And it's different because it's not the same for me to speak about what I'm doing, for instance, in terms of like the technical things here on the Sculpt, than it is for me to speak about, again, like art principles or fundamentals or things like that. So it really changes depending on what it is that I'm explaining. Sometimes when I'm like recording videos for the courses, I do need to record it like several times, and I need to find the proper ideas before I can jump into actually like recording like the final video. So yeah. Let's see. What's the name of the brushes used for character sculpting? That's a very good question, Sam. And I'm going to go full screen with this. There are no secret brushes, guys. There are no secret brushes. Like if you have the standard brush, the clay buildup, trim dynamic, just those three brushes, maybe the smooth, that's it. You can sculpt pretty much anything that you want inside of ZBrush. There are certain brushes that will make certain things easier, but in reality, understanding again the forms, the volumes, the proportions, and how to use positive, negative shapes and silhouette, that's the real secret to this. And you can ask this to any like digital painter, for instance, or illustrator. They're gonna tell you that just a hard round brush inside of like Photoshop and a soft brush, it's more than enough to do anything art related. You can go with the most expert like a mason out there, and he's gonna give you a chisel and a hammer, and he's gonna be able to make amazing things with it. So tools are that. They're just tools. They're not gonna save you from having to learn all of the fundamentals. You need to know those tools because, yeah, some of them might be a little bit handy here and there, but the fundamentals are the important thing. So don't fall for the trap of thinking that there's a secret brush out there that's just gonna be like the best option for you. Let's see. Is 3D Studio Max a thing in 2025? Yes, it's still a thing, Manuel. I haven't used it. Like I don't really know how to use it, to be honest. But it is still a thing. Like you can definitely utilize it for your workflows. Oh man, I see this chest, and the first thing I think is like I need to bring this into Maya and just like do proper retopology. Because if I want to have like this super like intense and sharp angles, it's a little bit tricky to do it with just like Dynamesh elements. Bennett Nash says, whenever I use my decimation master on 80 million characters to 1% for low poly, it gives a weird result like a single triangle, eyes, and just nails. You might not want to push it all the way down to 1%. You might want to try 5%, 10%. Or if you see certain areas that are getting a little bit like tricky, you might want to split them. Like it's perfectly fine to have multiple subtools and then just bake them down or whatever. Is there any news about your courses? Yes, there's news about the courses, my friend. So the news is that I am currently working on the new course. It's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to mention exactly what it is just yet, but it's very, very fun. And one thing that I can sort of like tease you about is that the concept that we got for the course is really good. It's really, really freaking good. Again, I'm not going to do or give more information just yet, but it's a very, very cool concept. I haven't felt like this excited about the concept, I think, since like the Oni. So it's like that good. So it's going to be a very, very fun course, and we have some cool news about that as well. David has been helping me with some other things over there. So yeah, we'll get you more news. The one thing that I can tell is that it's definitely going to be releasing before, probably a couple of weeks before our anniversary. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, well, not couple, but maybe like in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, like I'm definitely gonna get it ready for the anniversary in June. So it's releasing soon, and I'm sure you guys are gonna love it because it's gonna be a very, very fun course. Let's see. Another thing that we can mention. How many viewers do we have right now? I want to make sure that we have enough viewers right now to make another little teasing announcement, and that one's coming very soon, like really, really soon. But I want to make sure that we have a good amount of people right now. So how many are watching on YouTube? Let me know. I don't have the stats right here. How many are watching on YouTube, and how many are we watching on on Twitch? When we get to 100 viewers, we'll do the next what's the word? The next little piece of news. Let's see. How often do you use CModeler? Do you use it when creating hard surface models? Yes, I use it, JetPlane. But again, to be honest, I feel a little bit faster when doing it inside of Maya. So yeah, it's oh, we're really close. So I really feel more confident doing it inside of Maya or sometimes even Blender, and therefore I don't use CModeler as much. But if I'm doing something simple, you know, like the handle for a sword or like a hammer head or something like that, I'll just do CModeler. One very sort of like quick way to get some basic shapes in here. Let's see. Can I learn everything in 3D or VFX? Someone told me to choose one side only. You can learn about everything, Adish. But if you want to be a master at a specific skill, you need to focus. You need to sort of like specialist. Again, you don't need to be like an extreme specialist, but it is advisable that you pick something that first you're good at. That's a very good advice that I want to give you right now, guys. If you are going to pick something, yes, we all love to pick something that we love. That's important, right? But you also need to try to find something that you're good at, because sometimes just because you love something doesn't necessarily mean that you are good at it. Actually, let's go full script, because that's another one. When you're picking what to do, a specialty or whatever, you do need to pick something that you're good at. I know we like to think about picking things that we love, and that's fine. But there are times where you're gonna find you have way more talent in something that might not specifically be what you love, and it might be easier for you to get a job or get some like income doing that specific part of the process. I've had teachers and friends who were, for instance, really good animators, and they didn't like it as much, but they were really good at it. So that's what they did as their sort of like main source of income. And then in their free time, they were doing things like painting or modeling or VFX, where they were maybe not as good doing it, but they liked doing it. So it's a good advice to find what you're good at and use that as a sort of like starting point to get your foot on the door. And then of course keep looking for the things that you love to do, the things that you really like. But finding that your sort of like innate talent is a skill that a lot of people, I think, sort of like glance over. So make sure to go for that as well, because there's a lot of potential in the areas that you are actually, or you're more geared towards being able to do properly. Okay. There you go. No one loves skinning a rig. It's not that bad. There's some tools out there that make it a little bit easier, a little bit more like approachable. But yeah, I agree. Like skinning can be a little bit tedious. What do you think about combining ZBrush and 3ds Max for characters? Perfectly valid, and a lot of people do it, man. Check on. So yeah, completely valid. If that's your software, like if you use 3D Studio Max, stick with it. Like normally or nowadays with modeling, as long as you can deliver the FBXs, you're usually fine. Like you don't really need to do anything like fancy or whatever. Okay, nice, yeah. I really like the breastplate. It's looking quite nice, I think. Definitely need to clean that one up a little bit more. I think we can add like a symbol later on that part. So I'm just doing some quick checks. The belt is ready. Maybe I can add. I think I could add. I think I want to add a little bit of like detail here on the leather. Supposed to be leather. Really didn't want to add like another subdivision level, but just to make it look a little bit more organic, because I feel it looks a little bit too fake. There we go. Let's see. Is it worth to learn ZBrush just for props? This is from Valena Alvarez. Yes, totally. ZBrush nowadays, guys, if you're gonna be doing modeling, texturing, and things like that, is one of those things that you definitely need to have in your toolbox. It's not negotiable. Back in the day, it was still possible to be just like a hard surface modeler instead of Maya or something like that. But yeah, nowadays you definitely want to incorporate ZBrush in your work. So strongly agree that you do learn ZBrush. Let's see. I've been practicing a lot lately, but I've noticed that my artwork lacks definition and depth. Well, that's the first step, man. And that's one of the interesting things about 3D. What the hell? Oh, we had very horrible polygroups. I'm just going to do all the groups right here so that everything gets its own polygroup. Because one of the things that I want to do here is I want to add, again, a little bit of detail where this, like, things go into the belt. I'm going to add, you know, like a little bit of a bump right here, to indicate that these things are not just overlap, but actually sort of like going in there. All of this is going to be baked down, of course. We're not going to have the information. Mohan, thanks for the follow, man. Thanks for the follow. Hello. Abe, what country do you think is best for 3D artists? Like, which one you should look towards if you want serious work? That's a great question, man. A great question. And here's the thing. And this is something that, again, it's a little bit like a little life lesson here. I'm not the most, like, knowledgeable guy in the world, but this is something that I've realized. Every single decision that you make will give you a different result, right? And it's impossible for you to know which result is going to be the best. This is something that I learned from a Harvard teacher. She was like an admission something. I saw like a short or a YouTube video. She was talking about this, how she would get people to ask her, oh, what school should I go to? Should I go to Harvard or Oxford or any of this others? And she's like, hey, you never know. Like any of the decisions that you make could be a really good decision or could be the worst decision in your life. You don't know. We don't have the ability to see the timelines and figure out which is the best option for each particular case. So the best thing you can do is just make a choice. Make a choice and just go with it, right? So if we talk about countries, every single country will have something a little bit different. For instance, here in Mexico, yeah, the pay is not as great as in the United States or as in Canada. That's the reality of things. Why? Because the industry, the 3D industry, is not as big as in those countries. However, there's other things that are really cool here in Mexico. Cost of living, for instance, is not as high. Yes, we have a very bad insecurity situation. Nothing that you would be affected unless you're in like some bad circles, but again, it's pros and cons. You could be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to the United States and I want to work in like the big companies, like the AAA studios and things like that. Cool. Then, yeah, you're going to be working on a very nice studio, but you're going to realize that, for instance, to travel, you need a car. The cost of living is very high. The house that you're going to be living on might be really small because you cannot afford a bigger rent, right? So all of those things are one of the elements that you need to understand. I've had people who for instance, decide to go and live in a very sort of like isolated place. I mean, like a I don't know, like a village or something like that. It's like not near a city, and they're 3D artists. And it's like, okay, you're choosing sort of like some peace and a more sort of like chill place to live. You know, less stress, less movement, less worries. But your amount of income is definitely going to be smaller than if you're like working in a big city or in a big like metropolitan area. So it really depends. It really depends. And again, we can take 10 students and send them all to the same like studio, let's say to the United States, and some of them are going to have great experiences and some of them are going to have the worst experiences in their lives. So it's so difficult that it's something that you just need to live with. It's one of those things that you're like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna take a shot and I'm gonna like try it, and if it doesn't work for me, that's great, but it might work for others. Let's see. What can I do as a beginner on sculpting modeling? I mostly use Blender for animation when I want to create character. Bought some courses, but I don't know what to do. Well, I mean, Akira, following the courses would be the first thing that I would recommend. Like, if you already bought some courses, if you already invested there, try to follow them. Like that's like a very easy way to learn about the tools. Again, my advice is try to do simple things. Here, let me show you. I've mentioned this before. Let's go here. Second. Creature concept. let's say you want to do a creature, right? Like you're learning ZBrush and you want to do a creature. If you're just learning ZBrush, please do not do this. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to have a very tough time trying to get to a nice result. So this kind of stuff, it's more for someone who's an intermediate level sculptor or an advanced level sculptor. You're sort of like shooting yourself in the foot by trying to do something that's very, very complicated. So you first pick something that's a little bit more approachable, right? Like something, I don't know, trying to find something that's not way too complicated. I mean, even something like this, like a normal sort of like humanoid alien, like an orc, like a goblin. Like if you try doing simple things first and learning the tools, then you can jump into the more complex things. So that's one of like the very common pitfalls for students. They start picking things that are really complicated, when in reality they should be like focusing on learning the tools first. Okay. So let's jump into Maya, because I want to do this like part of the skirt, and it's very sort of like, it has a lot of segments, so it's going to be a lot easier to do it inside of Maya. I'm just going to export this. Let's go to the desktop here. Folder. So let's call this skirt. We're over 100 viewers on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you, Fox Girl. Yeah, okay, so cool. The announcement, my friends, the announcement. It's a sneak peek, okay? Because we're not, we're preparing everything on the, what's the word? We're preparing everything on behind the scenes to make sure that we get something nice for you. But the announcement is that we will have our next contest, our next 3D contest, and we will be announcing the theme, the rules, some of the prizes, and all that information next week, okay? So next week, we are going to have our next contest. Again, I'm not going to tell you what it is about just yet, but please, if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to be uploading a video with all of the information. We are going to have a live stream as well next week to clarify any rules or any like questions that you may have. We had a really good success on the last one that we did, the Creatures Unleashed, that we did on, what was it, October. So I'm hopeful that we're going to have another great like contest. So if you guys are just like, again, graduating, if you're going to have some like summer vacations, this is a good time to be able to do this. So yeah, we're going to have our contest announcement next week, okay? We're already talking to some, what's the word, sponsors, to get some cool prizes as well for everyone. So that's going to be fun. Okay, so yeah, there you go, guys. So again, make sure to subscribe here to the YouTube channel if you're not subscribed, because we're going to be uploading all of the information there. Make sure to also go into the Discord channel, because that's where we're going to be, what's the word, uploading all the rules and all of the information and everything else as well. Let's see, Luminosa says, my previous career was in 2D illustration, but after trying 3D, I realized that I enjoy it even more than 2D. That's great. Yeah, that's great. What the hell? Do you guys see that? Oh, okay, this is a very common mistake. Look at this. I exported the skirt, and one thing that I realized is that it's off-center. That means that if I go here and I say subtool, append, and I try to append a sphere, now that one is centered. What the hell? Okay, so I'm not sure why. Did I move it? No, I didn't move it. Interesting. That's very weird. I'm just going to center the pivot point. I was going to show you how to recenter an object inside of ZBrush in case this happens to you, but for some reason this one is actually like working nicely, so whatever. Let's see. If I don't ever do characters but do everything else in 3D, is it worth learning ZBrush? Secondly, is ZBrush Core worth getting? No, ZBrush Core is not worth getting, to be honest. By Leacon, you're gonna be missing a lot of tools that ZBrush has. It's like a very simple like ZBrush, like a free ZBrush. It's just like a glimpse of what ZBrush can do. So what's the word? But yeah, I do recommend, again, even if you're not doing characters, for environments we use it all the time. For props we use it all the time. So yeah, there's a bunch of like ways to do it. Okay, cool. So here's what we're gonna do, and this is again where people overcomplicate things in terms of like this sort of like elements. All of this thing is gonna be baked down. It's just gonna be a flat plane at the end of the day. So what I need to do is just create a flat plane. That's pretty much it. And here I'm gonna show you some like more intense tools. For instance, I'm gonna go mesh tool. I'm gonna go create polygon. and I'm gonna create the polygon that follows that shape. There we go. So that's the shape that we want. I'm just gonna mirror this thing on the x-axis. Negative. Merge threshold is gonna be 0.001. There we go. Grab those vertices, merge them together, grab those vertices. There we go. That's pretty much it. And of course, if we want to see this properly, mesh display and reverse. So that's my base. That's the base of the skirt that we're going to be using. It's following this one right here. Now what I want to do is I want to start extracting all of the different trims and elements that we have. So for instance, we have this 2 side trims right there that are very nice. And if we already have the tools right here, it's easier to do it here. So I'm just going to do mesh, offset edge loop. I'm going to insert this. Oh, we have a weird vertex right there. Let's delete that. We're going to offset them right around there. There we go. And then I'm just going to grab these 2 faces, edit mesh, and duplicate. Now we have these 2 bands right here. Okay. Grab those 2 bands, Control E. Well, first of all, let's combine. Control E. Let's give it a little bit of an extrusion. And again, just to keep it simple, I'm just going to bevel them 2 segments and a small fraction. There we go. Why do we do the bevels? We do the bevels so that we get a little bit of an edge that's gonna bake nicely on the flat plate. Because again, all of these things is gonna eventually be a flat plate because we want it to be sort of like moving on the wind, but we want to have sort of like the texture and the depth on the cloth, right? Hassan, what's up, man? Thank you for everything. How do I choose which 3D field to specialize in? That's a great question. I would say you need to answer 3 main questions to get closer or the closest to the answer there, Hassan. First of all, what are you good at? I've mentioned this before. You need to find what you're good at. Second of all, what opportunities or how is the market around you, or how easy it is for you to create a market around you, around the skills that you're good at, right? Because for instance, you could be the best rigger in the world, but if the city that you live in uses absolutely no riggers because there's no 3D market, and you cannot move to another city, then your skills are going to be wasted and you might need to switch to something different that might be used on that particular place. So you find what you're good at, you find what's the need of the market, or what people are looking for in that particular area that you're in, and then once you have those 2 questions, the next one is, what do you like to do, right? Like, what kind of things in the 3D world do you enjoy? Because one thing that I recommend my students is never pick something or never do something that you don't enjoy, because it's just not it's not ideal. Sometimes you're gonna have to do it, by the way, guys. Like I'm not saying that that you should always what's the word? That you should always have something that you absolutely love. No. But you should try to, if possible, you should try to do something that you like. Here's where things are gonna get a little bit tricky, because we don't have a perfectly like even like topology, so I need to be very, very careful. Try to keep the angles and everything as clean as possible. I'm gonna show you one thing that we can do to sort of like align this a little bit. There we go. So we have this piece right here, and if I want, first of all, as you can see, all of the faces are slightly wonky right there. So I'm gonna grab all of the faces and scale them on the z-axis so they're perfectly flat. And then if I want, for instance, this edge here to be super straight, I can go to the R, click on the element, press R, click on the element, and go to component. And as you can see, that's gonna align itself to the components, and it should allow me to snap all of them in the same angle. See that? So it's a very sort of like easy way to make sure that that line is perfectly straight by going into the component sort of like transformation. So instead of using world or any of the other ones, again with R, I'm using component, and then we can go back to object. That's it. Same for this one. Like in this case, I'm going to go back to world to make sure that that one's perfectly straight, same as this one. And that looks a lot cleaner than what we had before. Xstroker has a question. He says, I would like an opinion for some assets I'm working on. Since it's taken me a long time, I would like to know if your experience, how much time should it take me? I would like to send you the link on the concept. You cannot send links here. I believe Twitch doesn't allow that, but you can send them on our Discord channel, and you can send them on the Whips channel, and just tag me and I can give you a good estimate on how you're doing. Oh, now I'm getting behind on the comments. Dread Shadow says, for Blender ZBrush workflow, I have a problem with scales. No matter how big or small objects is in Blender, ZBrush imports it as the same scale. Yes. Each time I have to scale the object in ZBrush with Gizmo. Otherwise, I have to reduce the size of the brush to small to sculpt. Any ideas? Yeah. So if you're in ZBrush and you're having that issue, what you need to go is go to C plugin and then a scale master, and click this button that says ZBrush Scale Unify. So that will modify the scale internally on ZBrush so that it gives you a nice resolution, Dread Shadow, and you don't have to do that like like increase the sizes or things very, very heavily. So ZBrush, scale, unify. One of the skills that for me are the most difficult in ZBrush is posing the character. I don't know if it's better to place it in pose A or T and then you place it in the pose. I find it easier to do it in A pose, Johnny, because it's a little bit more neutral. T pose, it stretches the arms and the shoulders a little bit too much and it makes it difficult to control. But yeah, it can be a little bit difficult. We cover a little bit of posing for the Duncan course on the anatomy course. We do posing at the end for the 3D printing for the statue. So you might want to look into that. iPad ZBrush to Blender with USDC, no problem. Yep, yeah, USDC is a nice format as well. How to get rid of seams in Blender Substance workflow, because there are no seams in the Substance Painter, but after I export and apply the seams, you probably are not connecting the materials properly. It's a very common issue. Check the video here on the channel that says how to connect your materials, how to connect your textures. There's like an axe and a Kindred mask as a thumbnail on that one. It's a little bit of an old video. I did that like a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago actually. There we go. Again, 0.001 on the mesh threshold. And let's just merge those little vertices right there. Get rid of that extra one. Awesome. So there we go. That's great. So this one right here, again, I'm going to Control E. Give it a little bit of depth right here. Do a bevel. Segments, a small fraction. Again, I don't really care about topology on this ones because these are all going to be baked down. So yes, I know we have like useless edges across all of these elements, but they're really not going to be like affecting us too much because this is the piece that I want. And what I'm going to do with this one is, of course, I'm going to push it. Let's center the pivot point right here. Right? And this is where we start sort of like playing, because this plane is where we're going to be baking everything. So here, I just want to make sure that the distance between these two elements is nice. Like that distance right there, we have a little bit of something going on. Nice. There we go. We could potentially make this a solid block as well, and you can rig it and everything. But the problem with doing solid cloth is that, especially if you're going to be using dynamics, it deforms very, very, very weirdly. So it's not something that you normally like. Where are you going to bake it? Marmo or Substance? Probably Marmoset. I've been doing most of my bakes in Marmoset nowadays. No portfolio review for May? No, yeah, Rohit, we're going to have portfolio review. That one's going to be on the 30th, so in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, Rohit. Make sure to join the Discord so that you know when we open the submissions. Okay. Now we have a couple of more patterns over here. I'm gonna go for the long patterns first. So this one right here. And again, these are the times where you don't always need to do retopology. Sometimes it's a lot easier to just sort of like eyeball the whole thing. For instance, this one's gonna go right there. Just grab these vertices, go all the way down to right around there, and go down. Actually, I missed. Go even further down. There we go. Right here. Grab this one. There we go. See that? So that's all we need. That's the sort of like the big shape that we have right there. And again, we can grab all of these pieces and figure out where this thing's supposed to be, which should be a little bit thinner than the previous one. So right around there. And I'm making sure that there's a little bit of space, kind of like half of the space here, just to make sure that it looks nice. Over here, as you can see, we need to push this face a little bit more. Here's another trick again. Like if we try to push this face, it's not gonna be easy because we're in world mode, right? But again, if I press W, click, and I go to component mode, it's gonna find the normals of the elements. So it's a lot easier to just push this forward a little bit. And I can do the exact same thing, for instance, for this edge. Just push it in, and it shouldn't really like modify too much the silhouette of the element. There we go. Now again, in order for this, because if we tried baking, this is a very here's a cool tip, guys. If you're going to bake something and you don't see it on the orthographic view, so for instance, this is the front view, right? And we don't see that piece. It's not visible. So if we try to bake this, it's not going to bake because this like a flat plane is going to project all of the elements and it's not going to be able to do that, okay? So with this one, I'm just going to like bevel it, again, 2 segments and a small fraction. And by doing that, now if I go to front view, now it's visible. Now we can see that there's something going on there. And therefore, when we bake, we're going to be able to get that information, okay? So always make sure that your elements are visible on the bake before you actually do the bake. Then I'm going to push this just a tad bit further up so we get a little bit more ambient occlusion. Wolfver says, I'm baking my character in Marmoset and I'm freaking like, yeah, it's amazing. Marmoset is just so good. I think, Sam, I think Marmoset is the one that does the best baking. Franny, how are you, my friend? Welcome to the stream. Happy to see you here. So there we go. And one question for BR, what is the average texture size, or is it more a question of geometry? No, it's both. I tend to keep it at 2K if possible, but it depends on the assets. Some assets you do need to go 4K, but you need to try to optimize those things as well. So tileable textures, masks, there's a bunch of tricks that we can use there. Okay, so let's go for this detail again. We're just gonna create a cube, snap it right there, rotate it, go into object mode. There we go. So that right there should cover it. We just find its position right there. Seems about right. Bevel. 2 segments in a small fraction. There we go. And we mirror. And as you can see, with very simple, this is one of the principles that I always talk about in the courses, which is complexity out of simplicity, right? So we don't need to do something super complex. We can keep it very simple. And then just use it to make something that looks a lot more complex. I know it sounds like a little bit too simple or too obvious, but a lot of people tend to overcomplicate things when they're building this kind of assets. And I've always found that to be a little bit funny. Okay, let's go here. Again, we find the angle right around there. Around there. Nice. So this one's gonna be right there. I'll show you the bake in just a second. We'll do a test bake in Marmoset, just so that you guys see how nice this thing can look. Push it a little bit higher up, not too much. There we go. Bevel, 2 segments, a small fraction. Modeling on curved surfaces is so difficult. Yeah, modeling on curved surfaces is tricky. I don't usually like doing that. I prefer to just do the high poly in ZBrush and then retopologize. But yeah. Hoke FMK, thanks for the resub, man. I forgot to mention that. That's Hassan, right? Yeah, I did answer your question, but I forgot to thank you for that resub. Dara Norred says, thanks for all of your guides. I feel like growing as an artist watching them. Thank you, my friend. See, I have a very interesting view about art, and I've been criticized by this. Like, not here, not in the chat, but I've heard, like, a couple of people have directly told me, like, to my face, and I really respect that. But others, I've heard, like, backhanded comments, so like, oh, you shouldn't be giving away all of this information. It's unfair for the art community because some of us have paid a lot of money to go to school. And it's like, yes, I understand. But at the same time, art is meant to be shared. Like, that's the purpose of art. If you have an art piece, if you have anything art related and you're not sharing it, if people are not watching it, it's kind of like the thing where if a tree falls in the middle of the forest, does anyone hear it, right? I think it's very similar. Like, art needs to be shared. So I'm glad you guys enjoy the content here on the channel. Thank you for the support. Yeah, exactly. There shouldn't be any gatekeeping in art. I know certain things should have some sort of like value, like of course the courses, but that's a different story because on the courses I synthesize the information for you guys so it's a lot more manageable. It's a little bit of a different approach. I remember, I don't know who said this, but I remember someone saying, like, right now with the internet and everything, every single bit of information is available for free out there. So that's why I don't like the gatekeeping thing. Kevin Cal, what's up, my friend? What's up? Welcome. Portfolio review when by BKS at the end of the month, man. May 30. We definitely need to make the frequently asked questions channel on the Discord, David, because that's one of the questions that everyone asks all the time. Like, when's portfolio review? And And where? How can I submit for review? We definitely. I will do that this weekend. I will do that this weekend. Okay. Look how this is looking. Here's a cool little tip here inside of Maya. We have ambient occlusion option. It's this little icon right here, screen space ambient occlusion, and it's a good way to sort of like visualize how things are looking. And as you can see, that gives us a nice little little preview of how the ambient occlusion is going to look. Also about the environment course, that's another question that needs to be. Arenas, what's up, man? What's up, my friend? What's up? Okay, let's go to the next piece. Okay, so we got a couple of extra pieces here. So this one, it's very similar, but it's probably easier. Are they bands? I don't even know what I did there. Kind of look like bands. I was gonna ask you guys, let me know in the comments. This is something I've been sort of like debating. It's like a personal question. Some of you might be able to give me an idea because I've never done this before. But do you prefer to work with a 2K monitor? Do you guys, any of you guys have 2K monitors, or do you prefer 1080p? Because I've been doing 1080p for a long time. And I'm very tempted to jump into sort of like the 2K train. 4K it's overkill, I think. It's like for 3D work it's just overkill. But 2K feels like a nice sort of like upgrade. There. Rahul says, I learn more from you as compared to my college. I've heard that before. Thank you. That to me is like a very nice compliment, and I'm glad that I'm able to help. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Even like I've mentioned this before. I know it might sound like a scratch disc saying this so many times, but I went to Nomen, and there were some teachers there that were a little bit difficult to learn from. Right? Like I'm really grateful for all the things that I learned, but being a teacher is not the exact same thing as being an artist. Like there are certain skills that you need to have as a teacher to be able to explain and communicate properly, and I do feel like that's another sort of like skill that sometimes people don't develop as much. Yeah, we're talking about monitor resolutions. Ultra wide screen? No, I don't think I could ever do ultra wide. I had a curved screen a couple of years ago, a full HD curved monitor, 27 inches. And I didn't like it. It felt weird. So I'm not sure if I could do an ultra wide. Yeah, iPad is practically. Yeah, iPad is 2K pretty much. I'll probably do it. I'm gonna have to find a tablet that has 2K as well. I'm worried about recording, like recording at 2K and then people not being able to see like the details or things like that. I'm gonna have to find a nice sort of like middle ground there. I've been on a 2K curved monitor for many years, had no issues with it. Nice. No, I'm guessing for games that might be quite nice as well, right? So I'm gonna scale this a little bit. I'm learning 3D code. There's some way to mask objects like in Substance. Yeah, you can mask objects. You can mask objects in 3D code. Good morning, Ryan. What's up? Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, I think, hello, Hex Ghost. I think if I were to get like a 4K monitor, I wouldn't be able to play like at 100 FPS or anything like that. I can barely do it with my card right now. It's not a bad card. It's a 3080 Ti, but even at with some games, it's struggling. I think Naval says, I have a question. How does it make chain link fences in video games? Do they use actual geometry or just flat planes? It depends on the game. Some games will have the actual geometry, and some games will have just like an alpha. And there's another option that you might have heard before. Let me see if I can find a picture here. I haven't done a video about this. I haven't used it a lot, that's why. But it's called Parallax occlusion mapping. So parallax occlusion mapping, it's a type of like mapping that you can use, and I'm not sure if you could do it with like a fence or something, but it gives you the appearance of like tessellation when in reality there's nothing. Like it's like a normal map sort of thing, It's really interesting. It's a really interesting like effect, because it gives you a nicer detail than just the normal map. It gives you more depth, but without the high cost of the what's the word, of the displacement. You think it's worth the price buying plasticity and Resum for game art? Resum is good. I think I have it. Do I have it? Yeah, I have it right there. Resum is good. It's not, again, like mandatory. Like, you don't need it. Like, if you don't have it, you're not gonna die, right? But it's quite nice. It's a nice, like, interesting tool, because it really optimizes the UVs in a very cool way, especially if you're working with really sort of like big UV like sets or assets. Like if you're doing like a big robe or something like that, I think Resum could potentially be a really good option. But for more like normal stuff, no, you really don't need it. Again, if you can afford it, sure, go for it. But here's the thing about tools, guys. Tools are very variable. What I mean by this is, like, Resum might be a big tool right now, but if it dies in the next couple of years, that's just what they call it, abandonware. Like, there's a lot of softwares that were used 10 years ago that no one uses anymore. So just keep in mind that buying it doesn't mean that it's going to be a solution for all your life, right? Like, you might need to adapt to another software later. That's it's part of the industry. Part of how the industry works. Like, I remember when I was a student, some people were still talking about Alias, which was a very old sort of like 3D software that people used, and it was already outdated at that point. This point right here, bevel, something like that. Then we have a final sort of like band right here, but I'm just gonna extract it from mesh and duplicate. Fire, something like that. Again, now this one we gotta be careful. I cannot just give it the full bevel. I mean, I can give it the full bevel, but I'm gonna need to clean it up a little bit, because it's gonna start sort of like hardening some of the edges that we have right here, and I don't want that. Give this rounder. Gonna eliminate support edges on this one's right there. That one's not that bad, but I'm still gonna eliminate it. I'm gonna buy a Cintiq 32 Pro 4K. Nah. Don't think so. No, even this one that I have right now, the 22-inch, I feel like it's a little bit too big. I was used to working on smaller tablets, so. What the hell happened with this one? Like on my laptop, I have a 13-inch screen. That one we don't need anymore. So this is our pattern right here. And I mentioned I was going to show you how to do a quick bake. Again, this is just to check how things are looking. So I'm going to select all of these faces, shift, select everything else, delete. This is our sort of like flat plane, right? Like, this is our skirt. Now, if we eventually want to make this a skirt or use this a skirt as a dynamic sort of like thing, one of the things that we do need to do is we need to add a couple more subdivisions, because otherwise it's not going to bend nicely. So I know this increases the poly count, but it should allow us to, again, simulate the cloth a little bit nicer, right? So this one right here, I'm going to clean. I want to keep the border there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this, guys, a little bit to the side. Is this Retopo ready for games? That's a great question. It's workable. It's not perfect, but it's workable. So the history. I have a question for you guys. What is your plans if we don't have no more PC for doing art? What do you mean? Like, if the world just ends and we don't have any more like internet and PCs, or if you're just starting and you cannot afford a PC? I'm not sure what the question is. Michael Tonley says, "Hey Abe, what's the difference of Resum UV with the 3ds model app defaults UV editor? It has way more options, man. Like, way more options to check a lot of different things. It's like a specialized thing for UVs. Show you. So this is the interface for Resum. And what you do is you load an object with UVs. Let me see if I have something over here. I think I have the fish. Let's go for the fish. Fish bakes. Where's it here? There you go. So as you can see, this is the interface. You have the 3D viewport and the 2D viewport. You do your cuts very similar to how you would do them inside of Maya, and then over here you do all of the like arrangement, right? For instance, here I'm seeing that I have like a bad UV apparently in some place. Didn't even notice that one. Seems to be this one right here. And yeah, it has way more tools. You can define specific resolutions for your map. You can straighten the UVs. It gives you a nicer unfold, so it's gonna make it a lot cleaner. You can see, for instance, here the distortion. So the red colors are areas that are going to be a little bit more stretched out, and blue areas are areas that are missing some resolution. You have this like bar here on the bottom that tells you how things are distributed. So it's way more specialized. Again, you don't need it. It's really good, but you don't need it. Like if all the computers died in the world, I would just go back to traditional art, you know, painting, drawing, sculpture. Like that's a cool thing. All of the things that we learned here in the digital world can apply to the real world, and all of the things that you learn in the real world can apply to the digital world as well. So UVs, camera base, there we go. Let's go UV editor, quick unfold, and ideally we want to keep this as straight as possible, right? Okay. So I'm gonna export this file, export selection. I'm gonna call this skirt low. Desktop here, Mighty Thor. My bad. I exported as a Maya binary. We need to do either FBX or OBJ. Skirt low. There we go. And then what I'm gonna do is I need to duplicate this one. I am going to extrude it back. There we go. Because I need to have something sort of like a block or like a base for this to be able to bake nicely. Hide this one for just a second. Display reverse. There we go. And we grab all of these elements. This one I do need to add some support edges. I mean, we can just bevel, to be honest. Like this too much. So this is our high poly, and all of this I can just combine. It's fine. File, export selection, and this is gonna be skirt high. We can go to Marmoset. Can I make a Resum tutorial on YouTube? Yeah, I'll probably do it soon. Absubi, we're gonna have portfolio reviews at the end of the month, man, on the 30th. I'm trying to make a moon-shaped scepter for a character statue, but I'm struggling to get it done right in ZBrush. Is Maya the better software to do weapons for 3D printing? You're gonna have more control, I would say. I mean, you can do some really high quality stuff inside of ZBrush, but it really depends, Kevin, on how comfortable you feel with each of the tools. So if you don't feel comfortable with ZBrush and hard surface, just do it in Maya. Like, I'm not sure why we're still having that sort of like discussion at this time or at this age. You can use whatever software you want, man. Like, I've seen people do things with, I don't know, like plasticity, or there was another one that was like NURBS based, 3D Studio Max. Like, there's so many things that you can do, and it really doesn't matter like which one you pick. Okay. So again, just bake project. We talked all about this baking process in the Marmoset course. Remember, the first chapter is free, and we actually cover a lot of these things here. So I'm gonna go here and just set the output. I'm gonna set the output here. Mighty Thor, and yeah, PSD is fine. Let's just go skirt test. 16 samples is fine. Let's go a little bit higher, 32. And right now we're just gonna do normals for now. So I'm just gonna hit start. I'm gonna do preview material. And there you go. Right there. Can you see them? Look at that. Look at how pretty the normal map looks. Right? Not bad. Doesn't look that bad. Looks very, very interesting. I really like it. But unfortunately, or not unfortunately, one of the things that we definitely need to really make this thing shine is, of course, the ambient occlusion. So I'm going to turn on ambient occlusion. And when we do that and we bake the ambient occlusion, that's really the map that's going to make the whole thing pop. This is how we would look at or see it in-game, right? Because with this thing right here, we should be able to, again, it will be flapping around and it looks like it has way more depth, right? Even though it's a completely like flat plane, it looks like it has way more depth. So it's the ambient occlusion that is giving us that sort of like depth to the whole thing. This is like the secret. That's why ambient occlusion is so important in games nowadays, because it really makes things, especially things that are very flat, it really makes them pop. Not bad, right? So this is already, again, like a little bit of a glimpse of how this thing is going to look eventually in the game. What I can do here now is I'm just going to grab this one, delete it, and hit append, any shape like a sphere, and we can import the high poly right here. Go, append. Let's delete that sphere. Again, unfortunately, this thing is not snapped. It's no problem. You can just snap it to the center. Then just be able to find like the center point. Just about right there. There we go. Okay. Again, just as a sort of like preview, and so that we can start seeing the sort of like the cleaner look here for our character. Let's see. Is it okay to use ZBrush only for portfolio work and some compositing in Photoshop or something? Yes, Kunal, but that's if you do that, what you're going towards is what we call the 3D concept artist, right? Like someone who just does the asset to get the idea across, to get like a nice explanation of how it's going to look, and then you hand it over to someone that's going to do the full production and get the character ready for a film or for a game. There are jobs for people that do that. They're very few, and now with AI it's a lot more complicated because AI can do so many things so fast. So unfortunately, it's one of those things that I might not recommend as much, just because there's a lot of competition out there. That's why knowing the full process, in my opinion, is a little bit more valuable. Let's see. Alan says, I really want to try CAD software. It seems better for hard surface modeling and 3D printing. Yes, if you're going to be doing 3D printing, then yeah, CAD software's by far. Yeah, Foxy Girl, we're eventually going to rig this character. This is like my fun project. When I need to relax, this is the project that I'm using. Okay, let's do the bandages. I think I want to do the bandages here. So the first thing we need to do for the bandages is we need to clean this up a little bit, because this is very dirty. Very dirty. Actually, I'm just going to delete them. Actually, no, we cannot delete them. Oh, we already deleted them, so. Fuck. I actually do not want to delete them, because if we delete those, I forgot that we have deleted the legs before as well. Let me do a save right there. Let me load a previous tool. This one, maybe? We'll still have the full legs. No. Interesting. First one? Oh, wow. Seems like I cut the legs from the very beginning. Okay, that's fine. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to this one. Let's turn on the bandages. Oh, we deleted them, right? Yeah. Let's select this ones. There we go. And let's just bring them back by appending them. There you go. See? So it is indeed sort of like moved to the side. That's going to be problematic later on. Okay, for now, we're going to keep it like this. Is there a position that are still more preferred to be human artists in the next few years instead of AI? That's a great question, man. Not sure. Like, I don't see AI as the end of all things. It's definitely, as we call it, a sort of like paradigm shift, right? So things are changing, but I've seen a lot of reports where studios are realizing that they cannot get away with as much as they wanted to with AI. So they thought it's like, oh, we had, I don't know, like 10 concept artists, and now with AI we just need 2 concept artists. Let's fire all of the other ones. We're just gonna have 2 concept artists, and they're gonna do all the work with AI. And they tried it, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it's a lot more complicated than that, right? So it's definitely a shift on the industry, but I don't think there's gonna be like one specific job that that will require you to do it. What's I gonna do here? Oh, march down here. There we go. So what I need to do here is I need to sort of like rebuild the legs a little bit. So I'm gonna just dynamesh this. High resolution, of course. Just clean the silhouette a little bit, because I want to re-extract the bandages. If I extract them at the current like thickness, it's gonna be way too much. I need to recreate the like original profile that we had for leg. I've run into that centering issue. Is there a way to snap all your stuff? Yeah, it's with this one. It's the align button, but I'm not gonna do it right now because I have the hammer as well on the other side, so that'll be a little bit more problematic. But to be honest, if I had this issue, normally what I do is also just like bring everything into Maya, center it there, and then just bring it back. You can use GoC as well. Let's really create a nice contour here for the legs, because the bandages are going to add a little bit of bulky volume. Sure reminds me a lot about this like 80s like sports or like aerobic things where they would have this sort of like fluffy socks. And again, it doesn't have to be super clean because we're going to be simplifying this quite a bit. Yeah. I'm trying to improve my artistic skills. Does other tools even matter if my model is bad? Well, I mean, it's a little bit difficult to answer that question because I would need to see why your model is bad. But I would recommend, especially if you're just learning or just starting your 3D journey, Kunal, that you focus on not mastering, but being very proficient at a tool. So I remember when I was learning, it took me like a couple of months, like 2 or 3 months to get like a good idea of the tools within Maya. And then I started learning ZBrush. If you try to learn the two at the same time, since they have completely different workflows, it can be a little bit counterproductive, I would say. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Alan. I missed your question before that. What kind of cake do you like? I love vanilla tres leches. I really like cheesecakes. That's like one of my favorite ones. I really like lemon cakes as well. There's like a cheesecake with lemon that I really like. So those are usually the ones that I go for. Brownies are also very nice. I haven't had too many cakes lately, to be honest. I've been on a diet for the past couple of months or so. I've been avoiding that kind of stuff, but maybe for my birthday later in August. Let's see. What's up, Renato? Hello, my friend. Welcome. Okay, this is way better. So as you can see, the legs are looking a lot more sort of like trimmed. Still feel like they're a little bit fat in some areas, so then I clean them up. But what I need here is actually I just need a mask. So the reason I did this whole thing is because I needed a mask, and I need this mask to be as clean as possible. I'm gonna grab that element right there. There we go. We're gonna go geometry, and we're going to extract. So, sorry, sub 2 and extract. Thickness 0, very important. Accept. There we go. Awesome. So this is what we have. I'm just gonna check the topology real quick to make sure that we don't have any sort of like weird issues. We do have some. So I'm gonna go to geometry, and then weld points, close holes. Well, not close holes. It seems that's a little bit weird. Interesting. Anyway. Any tips for mastering topology? Sometimes I get stuck for not having the best topology with modeling. It makes me crazy. Well, I'm gonna do a little bit of a commercial here, just because you asked. But I have a course about that, man. So if you go to our site, should be here on the description. We have the this one, Complete Guide to Retopology, where we go over, we use Topogon, but you can use any tool. You can use Maya, you can use Blender. Like the principles or the foundations of topology work for any software. And we go, or I go over explaining all of the information that you need to make sure that that you can retopologize. People really like it, so you might want to check it out. I believe also we have some free lessons here on the first chapter. So yeah, that's one of the ways you can get better at topology. Okay, so now we're gonna see remesh errors. Yeah, I guess that was gonna happen. What's the error? Oh wait, do we have double both sides? The hell, do you guys see that? That face right there. What the hell? Oh, I guess we have double sides, don't we? That sucks. Okay, let's go back. This is from the extraction process. So, here. Yeah, there we go. Ah, that sucks. That's very annoying. Okay, let's try this again. I'm trying to see how I could solve this. This is an interesting thing. We have sort of like a hollow space right here, but it's sort of like ends right around the corners. It's not going to be easy to isolate. Actually, that one is not that bad, to be honest. So let's try that. Let's duplicate the tool and then delete hidden. And then let's try close holes. Close holes. Okay. Then I'm gonna hide those elements. I think that's gonna work. Okay, so let's delete hidden again. And then let's try zero measure. Does it work? Yes, nice. Okay, cool. That saved us quite a bit of time. Pirani says, yo, is it even possible to find job in the 3D industry game dev? My brother's trying and they look at job possibilities and they're sort of desperate. Yes, it's tough. And you can check some of the videos that I've uploaded in the past couple of months, Piranha. It's the nature of what happened with COVID. COVID is sort of like one of the main causes of why jobs went like really high for a time, and now they're dropping like crazy. This doesn't mean, and I've said this before, this doesn't mean that there's not going to be any more like jobs in the future. It's just that right now we're in this situation where it is a little bit tricky because, and again, we've mentioned this before, like studios have realized that games are no longer this gold mine where you just invest a certain amount of money and you get 10 times the return, right? So how many games have we seen in the past couple of years where studios have spent thousands or millions of dollars into creating a game and then the game completely flops, right? And big companies have done this, really big companies. So it's that situation where they're like, okay, why should I invest my money in making a game if it's not going to sell, right? I'm not going to make my money back from an economics perspective. So yeah, no, I agree, Alan. There's a lot of games that do deserve to fail because they were just not good games. They were not fun. They were not cool. They were not like marketed properly. Like there's a bunch of reasons, right? But the thing is, who is going to hire more people or teams when it's so risky to do it? So that's why I've seen a lot of like a movement towards, again, like indie stuff or smaller projects because the risk is not as big, right? One thing that I recommend, and I talked about this on the last video on the how much to charge for your work, is you guys need to understand that games are not the only thing that you can do 3D for. There's so many other 3D things out there, and it's important that you see that as well. I talked with my wife about this and give her an example because she, of course, doesn't know all about the industry. And it's like I explained to her, imagine you go to a professional like chef's school, right, to learn how to cook. That doesn't mean that the only place that you can work is for a Michelin star restaurant. Like, that's probably where everyone wants to work, but that's not the only place you can work. You can have your own small restaurant. You can work for another restaurant. You can work as one of the chefs that comes up with the recipes for a franchise. You can work in like industrial, like cooking. You can do catering. Like, there's so many things you can do with the skills that you learn. Right? So it's the same for us. Like, as a 3D artist, you can work in so many different things or so many different types of projects, but we tend to be a little bit too hyper-focused on just like games and films. So yeah, that's That's my little thought about that specific like part right there. Go again to Series Mesh. We're gonna do half Series Mesh, and we're just gonna keep halving until we get some like nice decent elements. Probably one more. There we go. That's about right. Okay, cool. So now, as you guys can see, we have this like section of the boots. Let's turn on the pants again. There we go. So these are our boots right here. Right now, they're of course hidden by the silhouette of the leg, which is fine. And now what we need to do here is we need to create the actual bandages. So let's take a look at the reference. I don't even know where I have my reference. Do I still have my reference? Wait, real quick. Oh man, I think I lost my reference file for this one. Sucks. Oh no. You guys want me to tell you all of the industries that you can use 3D for? 1 second. This is gonna be a short, I can assure you. So 3D is not only about games. 3D is not only about movies. There's so many different industries where you can use 3D. 3D printing, jewelry, toys, anatomical or medical visualization, manufacturing training, VR, AR, XR. What else do we have? We have advertisement, of course. I know I can come up with more right there. Fine arts. There are people who do like 3D stuff with fine arts. That's another one that's interesting. 3D projections. There you go. 3D mapping. They do that kind of stuff as well. Oh, theme parks, right? Like they use like 3D to build up and come up with the ideas for all of this, like new rides and things like that. Product placement or product visualization is another big one. What else? Yeah, engineering. They use it in engineering as well for pieces. Yeah, environment art, of course. Motion graphics, that's another one. Motion graphics. Yeah, like those, like that's at least what, like 12 or 13 like different like options right there, and each one of those have a long like a lot of different like options as well that you can go. ArcVis, oh I missed that one. Architectural visualization is another one. Industrial design. Models for view on website. Photogrammetry, conservation, archaeology stuff, museums. Like again, it's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of like different options that you can incorporate 3D into. So don't just like don't just think that games and films are the only one. Go Mighty Thor. Commercials, yes, of course, commercials. Yeah, that's what I tell my students. Like, you would be surprised how many things are out there that might not have as much prestige or as much fame as what we want to see in games and these things, but in games and film, yeah, I still use Pomodoros. I like using that technique. Trying to find a good concept piece over here, and I can't find it. Most of the comic books are from the movie shots. Okay, this one's probably the closest one. So interestingly enough, these bandages do not cover the whole leg, which I'm not sure if I want to do, because I've seen some of the other designs where they do cover the whole leg. I'm not sure if I want to have a couple of like spaces, like empty spaces there or not. Like on this one right here, like it covers the whole leg. Which one do you guys prefer? Do you guys prefer with a little bit of like negative space. Like we see a little bit of the leg through this like leather wraps, or like complete element right there. The whole one, all leg. Yeah, I think the whole one is nicer. Have you tried Corona Render? No, I have not tried it. I've not tried it. Oh, let's do the bandages and then we'll decide which one to keep. Could be one and one. Like one that could be with a little bit of negative space. Yeah, there you go. Look at this. Bumbledrow says, I'm a jewelry designer that works for a company that helps customers manufacture new products from precious metals. 3D is a huge part of it. Yep. Oh, there's have you guys seen these streams from Eric Keller in the CBrush like channel? He's like a specialist entomology or something like that. He does like scientific visualizations of insects, and it's very, very cool. He was a teacher of mine back in the day. Really, really good at CBrush as well. And that's another one. It's a lot of factors, Piranha. It's not only game directors. There is a lot of responsibility to the studios. I'm not gonna deny it, but it's also the gamers nowadays, like kids, right? They think about games in a different way than how we think about them. So you cannot blame the directors for thinking about how to monetize their stuff and things like that when that's what sells. Like I think they mention that some of the DLCs from Blizzard sold more than the whole StarCraft, like the whole StarCraft games. So it's like, damn, that sucks. Because I really liked StarCraft. Like StarCraft was a very cool game when I was a kid, and it sucks that just some cosmetics sell way more than a full game, right? But that's the reality of things. We're gonna use here the slice curve brush. Thanks for the follow, Fuji. Go there. But this is a very sort of like known technique where we use the slice brush to create polygroups for the bandages like this. We do want to keep them as clean and as sort of like real as possible. Little triangle right there. There we go. More of a stretch one right there. A little triangle here. Go. There we go. As you can see, we've created this whole sort of like edge loop thing with the slice curve brush. And now the only thing I need to do is I need to go to Subtool, Geometry, and use this option called the Panel Loops option. Edge loop, panel loops. And as you can see, this one will generate a loop with each of those polygroups. So we'll sort of like extrude them and give me thickness with each of the elements, and it generates like an individual like bandage. The only thing I don't like is I don't like the sort of like elevation that we're getting. I reduce the bevel. Well, there we go. I'm also gonna remove the polish, because the polish was giving me a little bit too much damage right there. Probably a little bit more thickness. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Take a look at the... yeah, that seems about right. Cool. So now that we have this, I'm just going to do other groups. And as you can see, every single bandage is going to have its own polygroup. So it's going to be a lot easier to fix. There's a little bit of an issue there, but we can just smooth it out. And I'm going to Control D several times to get something that's a little bit more workable. And once I've done that, we can do Dynamesh, but with groups turned on. So that every single one of them is like Dynameshed into its own, again, group. There we go. So now I have access to every single one of this, and I can start planning how they're going to sort of like blend and merge with each other, right? X-Stroker says, sorry for the insistence, but my comment with the link was removed from the whip section and I was blocked for a day. Dude, what did you do, man? What were you sharing? Let's see. Let me check real quick. No, that's fine, man. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's one of the Oni's techniques. Second, man, I'm gonna find what happened. I have an auto bot on the Discord, so sometimes it does like some stuff. What's your account name? Edwin? Are you Edwin? Oh no, yeah, I found you. Okay. I've removed your stuff and okay, yeah, I'm seeing it. So that table right there, the carpenter table and saw, that's the model, right? That you wanted to know how long this is a good question. So Xstroker is asking how long something like this should take, right? If you're in a studio, like how long should it take you to do all of them, actually? Okay, so I would say all of them. I would expect an artist to be able to do all of them with textures and everything. It again depends. If you're going to do hand painted texture, it's going to take a little bit longer, but at least just the models, you should be able to do it in like a week, like all of them, because you can reuse a lot of this stuff and it's relatively simple to do. Like you should be able to do this in one day, like in 5-6 hours at most. It's not that complicated. Same for like pretty much all of this you can do in like 5-6 hours. These ones do require a little bit more, but I would say like you should be able to do all of this in a week, like the 6 elements. Again, the hand painted stuff, maybe not. Maybe you need another week to do the whole texturing, but you need to be smart about how you do this. For instance, in this one right here, see how we have 4 different tools that are pretty much the exact same thing? You just do one, right? You just do one of these things and then you just continue doing it. You know what? This is actually a really good example for a video. So I'm gonna save this image because I know some I know here in our audience some of you guys are really experienced and some of you might just be starting. So it might be a good idea for me to do a video for like beginners to show like how to approach a concept like this. This is a really good concept, like a really good practice concept. I don't think this will be a good portfolio piece concept, to be honest, and maybe this one if you do a really good job with the textures, but it's one of those things that's a little bit too simple, I would say. Remember, we talked about this on how to pick a project, and this one definitely falls into the a little bit too simple field. Gotta be careful there. Hey, where do you think it's harder to enter if you recently graduate from university or academy as thinking? In BFX or game industry? Right now, I've seen there's more issues in the BFX industry, to be honest. Like, I mean, in some of the Reddit, like subreddits for like game development and BFX stuff, and I see people from the BX industry complaining a lot. Like they really like to complain. And at least in games, again, there's a lot of opportunity in the indie space, right? So there's a lot of indie game studios or indie projects that get some funding, and it's a little bit easier to do. It's also a little bit easier to do your own stuff in games, I would say. So if you want to, again, if you want to, what's the word, create your own little like mini game or whatever, or your own indie stuff, you want to be a solo dev, it's usually a little bit faster to do it or easier to do it in the games industry than it is to do your own film, right? That's one of those things. What are your takes on games with poor optimization these days? Like these days, AAA games. I do definitely think that people have been getting quite a bit lazy in terms of optimization, and we're suffering because of that. Because if you don't have like a top of the line rig, especially for PC gaming, there's a lot of like things. For instance, I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I really like Pokemon games, and I'm really pissed at Game Freak because they have one of the most like cool franchises in the world, and they make ass games. Like their games are just so bad. I recently went back and played some of the older games like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and they were so good. Like the graphics were fine, the cartoon style was okay, like it looked nice, it played nice. So I'm not sure what happened to them during the Switch era, but they just could not get it together. The textures, man, like the environments looked like horrible. And it's sad because you see games like Tears of the Kingdom or Xenoblade where they really like make good use of the Switch capabilities, and then they don't use that for Pokemon. It's like, dude, you guys have all the money in the world. Should be doing it. We're gonna start sort of like blending a little bit of the bandages, making sure it makes sense where they're going. More of an illusion, right, for bandages, because they're not really connected. It's not like one single strap of leather, it's like multiple ones. So we just want to give an idea of where this is sort of like going. And we do want to add a little bit of like silhouette and volume as well. Let's tend to rely on DLSS and FrameGen more nowadays, especially UFO. I just heard that the new Unreal Engine 5.6, they're going to implement a little bit more performance things. Because, yeah, I do think that they went a little bit too heavy on making sure things look pretty. But it doesn't work if you cannot play it or if you need too many frames. So yeah, I do hope people like realize. Now, one misconception that we tend to have is that we think that optimization is only on the textures and on the topology or in the geometry. That's not really the bottleneck right now. Right now, it's more about like a CPU processing, lights. It's other things. So yes, it's important to not have like millions or trillions of polygons if you can avoid it, or to simplify some of your textures if you can do that as well. But it's not really those bottlenecks anymore that we're like struggling with. What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna use my move topological to start sort of like pushing some of these things in and generate a little bit more depth as well. So right now all of them look very sort of like similar, right? Like they're all in the same depth. So I want to break it up a little bit right there. And you guys know I love trim dynamic to sharpen some of the elements too. What's the better way to sculpt folds in a cloth like a tent? You can use the Damien standard brush. There are some fold brushes you can get as well. Some of them are free online. Yeah, as Becker Draw is saying, very, very important to look at reference. If you can do Marvelous Designer, that's another like good option. It will definitely save you a little bit of time and give you some of the main wrinkles. But all of the secondary ones you usually want to do on your own or to do by hand. Hello, game Adyan Studio. That's the power of artificial intelligence. Makes you work fast, they say. Yeah, exactly. No, and that's the thing. Like, unfortunately, in the past couple of months, I've been getting more and more clients that they tell me, like, straight to my face, like, hey, we have some AI concepts. Can you work with those? I was like, I can, but just keep in mind that if they're not, like, the same, we're going to have some issues finding the perfect balance, because you might like some things from one of the elements and then you might like some things from another element, and if they don't match, it's difficult. And they understand, some of them. It's a little bit of a back and forth. But yeah, like, people are realizing that AI is an option now. Again, I'm not against it. It's fine. I need to learn how to use it properly. Something I noticed while following the anatomy course is how much I want to smooth the mesh. Like, I constantly keep smoothing and usually keep it rough. Yes. And that's a good point that you make there. That's a different, like, style. Like, that's something that you can definitely change. Like, if you don't like to keep your mesh dirty for a long time, that's fine. I tend to like to do that and then polish later on, because I like to focus more on the silhouette and the forms first, and then on the rest of the elements. But I know people who work the other way. Like, they work very, very clean all the time. And it's pretty much the same thing, because you're still going to spend the exact same amount of time. It's just how you feel more comfortable about going around that. My professor from my university worked on Silent Hill 2. He's a really good environment artist, and I really don't understand how Bluebird, with people like him, could make so many mistakes with optimizations. Game looks great, but it's like 2 FPS simulator. Yeah, well, one thing that I can tell you there, Piranha, and that's something that also that's why I tend not to be as harsh when games flop, is that a lot of the times the artists know that they could be optimizing things more, but there's not enough time, there's not enough budget, there's directions from people higher in the ladder, and that's the sad part about the game development at those sort of like higher levels. It's more about the money. It becomes a money issue. It becomes a money thing, and you lose a lot of that sort of like passion and things that you usually have more control when you are working on something on your own, or when you're working on a small project. And I remember when I was in school, we had this class that was about career options and things like that. And one of the teachers was very honest about it, and he's like, "Hey, you guys need to really put into perspective what is it that you value in terms of your career. Do you value being part of a big project, even though you're not going to have as much control or as much input into it because you're just going to be like one part of the team? Or do you value more being able to have your opinions and your artistic decisions be taken into account, which in that case, you're probably going to be going into smaller studios or smaller projects." And he said it's important you understand this, because a lot of people have the wrong idea that, for instance, you're going to be hired by Marvel to work on the next Iron Man movie, and you're going to be able to design the new Iron Man suit. Like, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to give you a concept art that has been pre-approved for 50 other people, from 50 other people, and then your job is to just make sure that it matches with that particular like concept or idea. So if you don't like that, if you don't like losing that sort of like artistic input or artistic control, then you might not enjoy working on big projects as much. You might prefer to work on, again, smaller projects. But if you like the fame, if you like the experience, or if you like being part, again, of a big thing, then yeah, sure, like that could potentially be a good place for you. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. So long as I get paid doing what I love, I'm happy. Yeah, no, I understand that, and that's of course a very like important factor. But there's other factors that come into play as well. And I've shared this before. For instance, one of the reasons why I decided to come back to Mexico instead of staying in the US was because, to me, I do value my friends and my family quite a bit. Like, I love 3D, don't get me wrong. I love doing this. But I also understand that this is not everything in my life. There's so many other things, right? So I made the conscious decisions like, okay, I know I'm going to have, I'm not going to be working on big projects or things like that. But I'm going to be close to my family. I'm going to be close to my friends. I'm going to be close to my culture, if you wish. And it's one of those things that some people decide, no, I don't care about that. I want to work on big companies. Cool. That's awesome. Go for it. Keep in mind that there's always a trade-off, right? I think that's the main lesson there. Like, no matter what you do, there's always a trade-off. No matter what decision you make, there's always going to be like something that's going to change how your life goes. Have you made a tutorial on CModeler Brush? Yes, Aditya. I have a tutorial, a very basic tutorial here on the channel, and I have a bunch of chapters on the CBrush Only course, which is this one right here. So on this one, CBrush Stylized Sketcher. So on this one, I believe chapter 2, we go over CModeler. Yeah, there you go. CModeler and a lot of things right here, and we use it like a lot during the creation of the character as well. But if you don't want to get the course, that's fine. You can also find some free videos here on the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. That can really help. We're really close to 50k subs here on the channel. That is amazing, guys. Just 2 years. I think if my calculations are right, by the time we get to our 2nd anniversary, again in mid-June, we should be hitting our goal of 50k subscribers. We should celebrate that somehow. I know YouTube doesn't send anything yet. They send a little plaque when we get to 100k subs. We're still a little bit far away from that. Yes, the course, Jonas, they are lifetime access. You buy it once and you can access it forever. Let's do a get-together. Yeah, I've tried talking to some guys in Monterey to see if they can host a get-together. Nothing yet. 50 PS5s. I would need to get a PS5 first for myself. I don't have a game console, actually. Well, I have my Switch, but I don't have an Xbox X or anything. Most of the time I play on my computer. I played a little bit of the new game, the Expedition 33. Oh, it's good, guys. It's good. You like that kind of games? Like RPGs? Turn-based RPGs? It's really good. I'm very early in the story, but I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I think the obsession with optimization is getting out of hand. It's 2025. Yeah, exactly, Sushi. It's not controversial. Again, there's a... Like, there are things where we should optimize, and there are things where it's fine if you don't optimize as much. But I've seen a lot of people who don't optimize, especially, again, nowadays it's code. Like, there's a lot of, like, redundancy on the code that that makes it difficult for things to work properly. So, it is problematic. And another thing that's important to remember, my friend, is that not everyone has a very strong computer. Right? There's a lot of players out there. And if you don't take into account those sort of like systems, you're missing on a lot of potential customers. That's why I don't feel like optimization. Like I do feel like people sometimes overemphasize optimization. But it's also sometimes they don't even do any optimization. That's also horrible. Will I get the Switch 2? Yes, but not at launch. Definitely not at launch. I'm gonna wait until they have some cooler games. Because I'm really... Like, I'm not a huge fan of Mario Kart. Again, I play it with my friends, my family, my brothers every now and then. But I'm not like a Mario Kart super enthusiast. And the Donkey Kong one looks cool as well. I might wait until the Pokemon one. It looks a little bit more promising. Again, not a huge fan of the graphics, but... At least the fighting system looks a little bit more interesting. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Have a great one, my friend. Giovanni says, very underrated channel, to be honest. You need more subs. Very interactive and very informative. I feel like we have a lot of subs, man. Like, usually 3D channels, they're not super big. Like, I've seen other really good 3D channels with, like, at least just like a couple thousand subs, and it's like, oh, this is a lot of very good information. So I'm happy where we are at. Ideally, we want to get to 100K. Like, that's gonna be like I here's the thing. When I started this channel, I didn't thought that we were gonna be able to get to this number this fast. Like, in 2 years, 50K, that's a lot. Again, for a very niche sort of like thing, because a lot of people just watch YouTube shorts and things like that. You know, unless I start like cosplaying or something, I don't think we're gonna get there like super fast. But yeah, it's one of those things that I was not I was not expecting to grow this fast. It's all thanks to you guys. I'll be forever grateful for that. How big is your team? Ryan, how big is my team? Do you want me to present you the whole team? Here, give me 1 second. I'll present you the whole team for the Abe DL 3D channel. First of all, Abe. Second of all, David, our good friend David here on the chat that's helping us with the Discord and a lot of things under the hood. David is the one who's in charge of all of the sort of like community outreach. So he's been one of the big like part of the team who helps us get connections with the amazing teams such as like Topogun team, the Marmoset team, the 3DSK teams not too long ago. But that's it. That's the whole team, guys. It's just the two of us. Nothing else. That's it. I don't have an editor. I edit all of my shorts. I edit all of my videos. I record all of my videos. I make sure to keep the site going. It's just us, man. It's just the two of us, Ryan. We're not gonna leak any new team member, right? No. Is it okay to leave action hair as it is for characters without making haircuts for... Yeah. For portfolio is fine. Yeah, and that's the... You're totally right, Becca. Like, that's the main thing that I've been so adamant about, and I told David since day one, is like, we're gonna do this together, man. We're gonna just grow. We're gonna have an amazing community, and we're gonna just keep going from there. Like, I don't want to become, and I told him, if you ever see I'm becoming someone I'm not, like, you know how some people get famous and they change their whole personality and things like that, just tell me, man. Like, we need to stop that as soon as something like that happens, because I don't want to lose the essence of what makes our community so good, or the essence of what makes the channel so good. That's why, for instance, I've been offered a lot of like sponsorships for things that I don't agree with. I'm not going to mention or drop any names to not affect anyone, but I've been contacted by companies that do a lot of different things. It's like, nope, that's not something that I support, or that's not something that I feel comfortable sharing, or that I would recommend or use myself. So yeah, nope. I try to be very true to the essence of this community and the channel. So yeah. Sailor Moon cosplay, no, that's not gonna happen. I would like to dress up as a Jedi. That would be cool. Dressing up as a Jedi would be interesting. Maybe next year. How do you make time for all of this to work? I need to sacrifice a lot of stuff, man. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, this is a decision, of course, right, for myself. I have the advantage that a lot of the work that I do here locally, right, in the universities and in the museums, is very flexible. So I can sort of like move things around. But I do sacrifice quite a bit. Like, I don't play as many games as I would like to. I don't watch a lot of movies. We do go out. Like, we recently went on a vacation with the family. So I, of course, try to balance everything. But it's about making sacrifices, right? It's about like finding what inspires you and trying to do it. Now, here's another thing, and I've been very honest about this before. I'm doing this after 13 years of working as a 3D artist. I started learning 3D back in 2011. So all of that experience allows me to sort of like streamline certain approaches or explain things in a specific way. It's not something that you could just do like the first time. And also, I've been doing YouTube for a while now as well. Like, I think I've been doing YouTube for 5 years now. I started with Nextdude, and I was there, I think, for 3 years, YouTube stuff. And then I jumped here into my own channel. So yeah, I've been doing YouTube for a while now. So that also gives me a lot of mileage and experience. Pink Eyes, what's up, man? No Phonex says, one thing I liked was that the tutorials you did, like recreating environments, and you were doing it in parts. Yeah, I try to be as... I'm not sure if I shared this before, but one of the things that I use to prepare my content, the videos and the courses and everything, is I like to imagine if younger Abe, right, like the Abe back 10 years ago, 13 years ago, was watching the video, what kind of stuff would he like to see, right? So I'm making it sort of like for myself in a way, right, for like my old self. And that's one way that I am able to find like those specific bits of information. It's like, oh yeah, this is something that I always like was curious about, and people would like show the tool but not show the why of the tool, and it's just very confusing. I also like to think that maybe in the future my little kid, she'll grow and want to learn a little bit about 3D, and she'll find these videos. So I try to be as clear as possible as well for the future generations as well. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. Will you do big tutorials like that again? Yes, we're gonna do more big tutorials. The next course is I'm working on it this week a little bit. I'll be able to push more next week as well. But if you mean on the channel here, not sure. The thing is, I need to balance the time, right? And I found that doing big series, like a series with, I don't know, like 20 episodes or things like that, people do watch the first couple of episodes quite diligently, but then like views drop very, very heavily. And you can check this on every other channel. Like, go to the Blender Guru's channel, and you're gonna see that the donut tutorial has, I don't know, like 15 million views or something like that. I'm not sure. It's like crazy numbers. And then the second video of the donut has like half that, and the third video of the donut has half the previous one. So by the end of the series, which is just like an 8 video series or something like that, it's like very, very low in terms of views, because people don't stick with it. That's the thing. That's like, if you want a secret, guys, to be able to, what's the word, to succeed in anything in life, it's just consistency and discipline. Like, a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people that are watching right now, hopefully I'm not calling anyone out, but a lot of people do not have the discipline and the consistency to just like say, hey, I'm gonna do this project, I'm gonna do it completely, I'm gonna finish it, I'll learn from it. Yeah, they just start a project, then feel discouraged about the project because they're not advancing the way they would like to, and then they just give up. And well, it's impossible to improve that way, right? So if you are consistent, if you are disciplined, then the odds of you succeeding are way bigger than someone who's not. And it's not a secret. You can find this in every single industry and every single like skill or career out there. It's a sort of like a very common pattern. Like if you see successful people in any area, in any, again, business or thing, it's usually discipline and consistency. Yes, there's a luck factor. I'm not gonna deny it. There are certain opportunities or certain like connections or advantages, privileges, if you want, that might have a play or a little, again, what's the word, man? English is difficult. That might have some sort of like influence. But hard work can get you closer to the goal. And I know it's not a guarantee, because I know some people like to bash the hard work philosophy or the hard work principle. And it's like, oh no, that's just something that they tell you to get you to work more. No, there is some validity to it. Again, it's not the only thing. You can still work very hard and have it very difficult. But yeah. Alan, thank you, man. I mean, if you have experience editing shorts, I could definitely use a hand right there. I've been looking at that. Unfortunately, the project is still relatively small. So we need to evaluate all of the strategies to make this thing a little bit bigger. But if you have, again, if you have experience editing shorts, that's the place where I need the most help. And I need someone who does know a little bit, at least a little bit about 3D, so that he knows what things that I say are important and which things are just like random comments. Saint Nabil says, you've been a great mentor from next to time to now. I hope you can make videos for a long time. Your videos are helping a lot of people and will continue to help for a long time. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, I do find a lot of joy in being able to help people. Because I remember, I'm gonna call someone out, but it's in a good way. I'm not gonna say his name, but on the first school I ever went to, which was here in Mexico, there was a teacher, former student of that school. Yeah, Alan, for sure, send it to me. There was a teacher on that school. He was teaching me rigging, and I remember he was explaining about the bones and things like that. And again, I was very curious, and I was like, but why are we doing this? Like, why does it need to follow this specific like form or this specific like shape or whatever? And at one point, he got so like I don't know, exhausted or tired of me asking questions. He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is how it is. You just click this button, you do this thing, and it works. This is how it works. And he did it in a funny way. Like, he was not mad or anything, but he was like I don't know. Like, we've reached the limits of my knowledge in this point. It's like, oh, okay, no, that's fine. But ever since then, I was like, man, I mean, there has to be a reason, right? Like, there has to be a reason of why things work the way they work. And that's where sort of like my mindset shifted, and I was like, yeah, I want to learn how to do things, but I also want to learn the why we do the things, right? Like the fundamentals of not only the softwares, but also the art situation, like fundamentals of art, silhouette, forms, all of those things. So yeah. Let's see. Palpatino says, hello, Ave. Hope you're good. Is a cheap screen digitizer worth it? Screen digitizer? Do you mean a tablet? Do you mean a tablet, Palpatinos? Because if you mean a tablet, I can recommend some affordable ones that are really good. Because I'm not sure what you mean by screen digitizer. Mike P says, hey, Ave, are you up for a collaboration? Yeah, man, sure. Sure. If you can, reach out to me on the Discord, and I'll be more than happy to see what we can work together on. But yeah, Matt Crafter, what's up, my friend? Welcome. I'm really looking forward to you doing her hair. It looks interesting in Marvel Rivals. Do you already have? Yes, we're going to be doing hair cards. We're definitely going to be doing hair cards for her. For her hair. There's a tool that I got not too long ago that's supposed to be a easy way to create the hair cards inside of Maya. The hair cards we're going to create with Fibershop. I don't think I've done a Fibershop video. It's a very fun software. Very handy as well. Yeah, a tablet. Yeah, sure. So I do have a couple of videos about those. But Huion is the brand that that I like. We've been working with them for a while now. And they like if you're on a budget, I recommend going for this one, like the Fregos. If you can, try to go for the Frego M, which is a little bit bigger and you'll feel more comfortable. But if you're really tight on budget, then even the Frego S, which is like the smallest one, is gonna work just fine. Right now, this one, for instance, is 2,000 Mexican pesos, which is like $100, roughly $100. So, and it will last you for a long time. Someone else is recommending the HS6110. Not sure which one that is, but even this one, like the Inspiro, like any of these ones are really good, to be honest, to as a sort of like a starting point. Personally, I like the pen displays now, but that's because I'm a little bit more fancy now. For a long time, I used a traditional tablet. Now I have like display tablets. So I've recommended the Canvas 16. I've recommended the Canvas 13. I use this one for my laptop. Is it the Canvas 13 that I have with my laptop? Remember? No, I have this one. No. Yeah, this one. This is the one I have for my laptop. The Canvas Pro 13 2.5K, I think. Oh, no, I forgot. I'm blanking out. And the big one which is the one that I'm working on right now, is the Canvas 22. This one right here. Canvas 22. So, yeah. Those are ones. Yeah, Canvas Pro 16 is really, really good. I agree. Yeah, in 16 is a good size, I would say. It's not too big and it's not too small. And I think that one, GC IL is 2.5 HD, right? So it's like 1440p. So you get more resolution as well. Oh, nice. Yeah, Alan, send me your stuff. Which tablets are best for artists? Yeah, it really depends, Adita. It really depends again on your budget. It really depends on your preference. Some people like small tablets. Some people like screen display. Some people like these huge tablets. Like, I'm not sure I could get like a bigger tablet than the 22, maybe 24 inches. But I've seen like there's a 27 inches. Like, no, that's way too much. It would feel like massive. See, imagine a Julian does a giveaway on your channel. Yeah, that would be cool, right? Be pretty cool. 16-inch was the equivalent of Disney drawing paper in classic style movies. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, it felt very comfortable, and I've done like a traditional like animation, like drawing every frame at a class. And yeah, the size actually feels like pretty close to that. Have you ever found yourself, let's say, in an unstable working environment during your journey to studios, and how would you tackle such a situation? Yes. Ooh, you guys want some tea? You guys want some tea? I don't think I've shared this story before. I've hinted at this story, but I'm not sure if I've shared it before. This was one of the most horrific situations I've been in terms of a business deal. I'll tell the story. Let's go. Let's go into story mode for a bit, because then I'll probably be ending the stream soon. So let's go into story mode. This was back in 2016. 2016, so almost 10 years ago. And I got contacted by a former student of mine. He was like, hey dude, we are gonna be working for a brand, for a specific studio, and on that studio we are gonna be making some commercials. It was 5 commercials, if I'm not mistaken. 3 of those commercials, no, 2 of those commercials were going to be 3D commercials, and 3 of those commercials were going to be 2D commercials. And these commercials were going to be projected on a big screen in a specific mall. It was this big mall. I'm not going to give more hints about it. But it was this big mall, and they're going to be doing those commercials. Cool. I said, sure, let's do it. And he is like, you're going to be in charge of doing one of those 3D commercials. There's going to be another team doing the other 3D commercial, and I'm going to be doing the 2D commercial. So I was like, and actually, I think I have do I have some of the frames? I think I have them. I'll show them in just a second. I started working on that project with my team, not just me. It was a whole team. Like, I had to hire 5 different artists with me. So it was 6 of us working on that project. And at the same time, the exact same student asked me to work on another project from this same company, but for another client. And we started working on it, and it was the same thing. It's like, hey, they need like 3 or 4 different animations. You're gonna do 2, and I'll do the other ones. Fine. We did the first animations. They really liked them, and he was like, hey, you know what? They want you to do the other animations as well, and we're gonna continue working on it. The point is, we worked for this client probably for like 6 months. I was paying my artists, and eventually we handed all of the work. We delivered all of our pieces, and they started ghosting me. It was horrible because I was like, hey, dude, we finished. I need the money. What's up? I'm talking about, we started working on May 2016, and we delivered the final things on, I think it was like October 2016. So we delivered the whole thing, and they were not answering, or they were taking too long to answer, and they owed me money because we finished the project and they were not paying. Well, to not make the story like extremely long, the problem was that my former student charged the studio the full amount of money. He got everything. He paid me part of the money. He paid the other one part of the money as well. But all of the other studios that were doing some of the other commercials did not finish the work. He did not finish his part of the work. And we couldn't finish the project. Like, the client couldn't like approve the whole thing because like it was incomplete. It was missing. It was pretty much only the stuff that we have done at that point was delivered. I'm not sure how much of the other elements were delivered as well, but I knew, or he told me that they were not finished. Like, they were asking for more changes, and they were not like doing it. So eventually everything went to shit. It was horrible. It was like a very bad, like, sour sort of like taste, because it was just like a bad like management thing. And I've mentioned this before. The issue was that the main client hired a studio. That studio hired my friend, and that friend hired more studios to do the work. So as you can see, there was a huge sort of like jumping chains. And the problem was that if I deliver something and my friend, well, not a friend anymore, right? But if this guy approved it, and then he showed it to the next client and they didn't approve it, it went back to me and I had to do changes. And it was just like a mess. It was just a mess. From then on, one of my sort of like main red flags is make sure there's not like a huge chain of jumps, and that you're getting approved by the one that's just above you, like the direct client or the final client, because otherwise it just becomes like a mess in this sort of like revisions and changes. I didn't lose that much money. Back then, it was a lot of money because I was just starting, so it felt like a huge like hit. It was like $3,000, I think, or $4,000 probably, that was owed to me at that point. But it really hurt because of 2 reasons, and one of them was I was getting married in June. So again, we delivered in May. I got married on May next year, and I was thinking of using that money to pay for things of the wedding, right? So it left me in a really tough situation. As someone like mentioned here in the chat, it was a very like bad situation. And then of course the relationship just dies, right? Like there's no way you can salvage that. So I haven't heard of that guy in 10 years. I don't know if he managed to deliver the project or whatever, but it was just a horrible experience back then. My students here in Mexico, I've told that story before, so they might know specifically what client I was working with. Oh, and you know what the other thing was? The stuff that I did deliver, like the things that we did deliver, they were used by the final client. So the final client, I'm not sure if still to this day they're using it, because it's something that they use like quite a bit, but I'm sure that they used it for quite a bit of time. So It was one of those things like very bittersweet because it was very cool that the final client was using it, but at the same time, it was horrible on how the whole like working environment happened. Years later, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years later, I managed to get a hold of the final client and I explained the situation and we're like, oh, we're so sorry to hear that. We're really happy with how it looks, but it's a shame that you guys had to go through that. It was like, yeah, that's part of the deal. That's that's how it works sometimes. So so my former student ghosted me and the company ghosted me. Like they was just like they did not pay at the end. No, it's not worth it to burn those. Like it's not. They were not a big company, so you're not gonna be getting into contact with them, Chinmoy. And I do have a tendency not to again like burn unnecessary bridges. Like if I ever get scammed like badly or something, I'll make sure to let you guys know which are the scammers, right? Like we've mentioned about like the NFTs and AI stuff and things like that. But these are just like unfortunate situations, and it's part of the sort of like the learning process that you need to go through as an artist because it teaches you how to handle those situations. Yeah, no, it happens in every industry, man. Every freaking industry. It's unfortunate, and I wish it didn't, but that's how it works. Let's see. Was it hard for you to trust another student again? Yes and no. That's when I learned my lesson, for instance, about the contracts. So now, every time I do a new business, again, especially if it's with a slightly big or biggish company or client, is contract. There has to be some sort of like written contract or agreement, just so that you have some sort of protection. It's very difficult. Again, usually with the it depends on the amount of money that's on the table, right? If it's a lot of money, then you definitely want to make sure that the contract is really really clean and really really like precise. But if it's not a lot of money, an agreement is just a way to make things a little bit more official, right? To be a modeling artist, we should learn texture and rendering. I do strongly recommend it, Faisan. Yes, I do strongly recommend that you do. Anyway, guys, so I think we're gonna be closing our stream for today. I need to go back and do more stuff, and yeah, we managed to do a little bit of improvement here with the skirt. The bandages definitely need a little bit more polish. The boots need to do a lot of work right there, but it's getting along. It's getting along. I needed this little stream to get my creative head back in the game, and we're gonna have more stuff coming very very soon, my friends. Remember, next week we're gonna be announcing the new contest, so stay tuned. If you're here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe so you get the little notification. Click on the little bell icon and everything so that you know when to look at this. We're gonna have a special stream next week to explain all of the rules, probably like the day after the video airs. So yeah, we're gonna answer all of the questions about the contest, the new contest that we're gonna have. New course is on the way. We're gonna have it hopefully by the time we hit our anniversary next month, and we got more stuff coming as well, guys. More interesting news. So thank you for your support. Thank you for this amazing community. Engineer Gaming, do you have any tips for rock or cliff sculpting? I just released a video last week, so make sure to check that one on the channel, Engineer. Here, like you're on YouTube, so just go to the channel. It was released next week or last week, sorry. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. I hope you have a little bit of rest. You do more 3D, of course, you practice, and I'll be seeing you back very soon. Don't forget, always learning, always improving. I'll see you back on the next one, guys. Bye bye.